Now, Quest Service Departments is one of Australia's most impressive business success stories. For nearly 25 years, Quest has been focused on the corporate traveller and it has over 140 properties across Australia, New Zealand and Fiji. So let's put the spotlight on Quest Chairman Paul Constantinou to find out what lies ahead for the company. Hi, Paul.
Good, Peter. Thanks for having me here.
It's a great story, and like everywhere you go, you see Quest.
Yeah.
So obviously we know you're doing well. The idea, where did it come from?
My background's catering and hotel management, so started the industry, saw a niche there for extended stay corporate travellers, so started focusing on it.
What year was that, mate?
Started Quest in 1988, graduated in 1976, so long time in the game.
Yeah. So after the stock market crash of 87, and were things quiet in 88?
Well, not really, because I think
interest rates came down. We actually rebounded for a while, didn't we?
Well, it came down. But I think when we started opening our first business, we were fortunate to be paying 21.5% interest on our business loan.
Yes,
so
okay.
When you look at rates today, they are very low.
That's right. The model. Explain the model to people who don't understand how it works.
Okay. What we focus on is customers, corporate customers especially, that need accommodation for what we say more than 3 days for extended periods of time. They're normally project workers, consultants doing work around town, around the country, in regional areas. And we focus on their needs about focusing on time away from home. So what their requirement in a room is a bit different than a hotel.
Yeah.
They need the space. They need work area. They come back to the room to get their work done. So we try to give them that home away from home experience. And as corporate travellers are the ones that the true non-discretional traveller. They have to travel. Boss says, I've got to be there. So they're trying to get their job done, get out of there pretty quickly. So we're trying to give them an environment that allows them to do their work.
Is it a franchise model right across the board?
Franchise model. One of the things I said right at the beginning is that where I found businesses, and the franchise model is good because the couple that run the business or the person who runs the business has skin in the game. He has ownership. He takes ownership. So delivering the customer satisfaction, I think, is that 10% extra you can give when it's yours. I'm not saying managers don't do a great job, they do. People skin in the game tend to give that 10% more.
And the standardisation, is the similarity property to property very close?
Well, it's very close. And I think what it is it's the experience in the room. The outside will look a bit different, but at the end of the day, you can walk into a Quest property and they're pretty similar anywhere you go.
And how many properties have you got now?
Well, now we've got 151 properties.
I thought that number, every time I read a number out, it's often a little bit...
We don't like quoting numbers anymore, but we just opened up in Sydney Olympic Park just before Christmas.
Right.
We've got 4 new ones that will open before June this year in Adelaide, Frankston, Rockhampton and Mackay.
Is this a reflection of the growth of business travel?
I think it's the growth of business travel, but it's also the growth of, I think companies have decentralised. If we go back years ago, accommodation was centralised around city centres. So we had all the hotels in Sydney, Melbourne, you had a few in Brisbane, Perth.
Yeah.
Well, businesses have changed. We look at Sydney today. There is a need for hotels in the city, predominantly a lot of tourist travel, because the corporates have moved out to the parks. We come out to Macquarie Park, we come out to Castle Hill, we come out to the other areas within New South Wales. That's where the office parks are. They don't have accommodation. So our growth is to follow where corporate demand is and start putting product that they need in their locations.
Have you gone the mining line yet?
Well, when we say mining, we developed in Gladstone, Mackay, but what we look at is not mining in an industry alone. We focus on a number of industries. So when we looked at Gladstone, we opened up in Gladstone 4 or 5 years ago. So it's not as if it's just opened up today because it's a great rush about LNG. I think the important thing is where we see infrastructure growth, where governments are spending a lot of money on the ports, on the roads, on the rail, bringing
and the urban centre.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. The challenges for your company and growth.
I think the challenges are going to be just following the market and making sure that we're a lag industry. We can't, when we see an opportunity today, we've got to make certain, because it takes about 4 years from opportunity, if that's where they want to be today. By the time you get a product up there, a property, it takes about 4 years going through planning, building. So you want to make sure that you're not just doing it on a great feeling today. I think if we look back at Sydney Olympics, a great idea to be there, build a lot of hotel rooms, but not much after that.
Yeah. So
we're not going to go into a territory or a regional area that we think is, BHP's doing a good job, let's go and put a hotel there.
So Homebush now has proved its model. Obviously you wouldn't be there if you didn't think there's going to be enough demand.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find that when the vacancy rates in the hotels in the area are really low, that's the time for you to move?
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. I thought that was obvious. What about the funding of building all these things as well? Like, obviously the franchise money, friends with place money to keep the business going. But where do you get the dough from to build all these fantastic buildings you know?
Well, I think one of the important stakeholders in your business is your financier, and also your landlords. And one of the things we work very closely with our banks. And we don't look at property per se. We're a business model. Property is just part of your business. It's we need property to be there, but it's not. We're not developers. We don't need to basically build property to make money. We make money out of the business. What we're able to do in our business is strata title these properties and allow investors to come and buy them because they're very residential look-alike, feel-alike. And there are people out there seeking residential investments. This has a bit of a commercial twist to it because it has a lease.
So if you've got a block of, say, 50 apartments, it's possible all 50 could be owned by individual investors.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so have the self-managed super fund people started chasing?
And that's what they're looking at. And one of the things we look at service departments, and we're very clear when service departments are being sold because it's not the capital growth story, it's an income story. So basically you get your rent irrespective. There's no vacancy issues, there's no issues about, will I have a good year or a bad year? You get a rent check. Rent check comes in every month. Your rent grows by 4%. But if the residential market booms tomorrow and jumps by 100%, your property probably won't because it's fixed at income. So for self-managed super funds that like income and don't like fluctuating markets and want surety of income, this is a perfect product.
What's the resale value like? Like obviously if someone sits in there for 10, 15 years but they get in their 70s, they want to cash out, is it difficult to...
It takes a bit longer than a typical residential apartment, but I would argue that when the residential market goes through a tough time, it's hard to sell those things too. And the good thing about having been in the game now for 25 years and when we first built the group, these properties do sell, but it's not one you can flick in 30 days. They sell between 3 to 6 months because the buyer that's buying are buyers with knowledge about the lease.
And is there a period in a cycle where they move quicker because everyone's actually just very keen on property?
And I think one thing's about keen on property. What we're seeing today, and we look at a lot of the products that people are buying in property, in shares, it's all yield driven. Because interest rates are so low, there's an opportunity here for you to buy good property that has a good yield.
What's the typical yield?
6.5%.
6.5%. Okay. The plans for the future. How big are you going to get? You must set a target. Like
we set targets every 5 years where we need to be, and that's based upon demand. So we're driven by our customers where they need to be. But one of the things that we're also looking at is that, and what we've seen over time, is that the supply of existing stock in certain regional markets is dwindled. So when you travel around in your country and you're going for a drive and you're still seeing motels in those areas that haven't changed for the last 30 years. There's opportunities in those areas to keep growing. So what we see is we reflect back on our industry over 5 years, set the new targets, but what we're saying as corporate business continually to improve, the demand for products exists. And the industry for years, back in the 1900s when it basically started, keeps growing. The service department industry back in 1999 represented less than 10% of the market. Today it represents over 25% of the market.
Will you have a list?
I think the fear of listing is like today. It looks great one day, and then you hear about these people that want to sell your stock short and saying, when you run your own business, you're in control.
That's right.
And it's when you don't want to be in control anymore, maybe that's the time.
Maybe the younger generation might say, let's just put on the market.
Absolutely.
Paul, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you very much for having us.
Fantastic, mate. Now let's get the day's top.